like there were literal burglars in our house while we were playing hide and seek. The story of my life. Hey lovely humans, and welcome back for another video. So today's video is going to be a little bit more chilled, a little bit more relaxed. I've got fluff on my arm. Yeah, I just thought we'd do a little video where I basically just kind of chat you through who I am, like where I'm from, like what my life is, what's happened in my life. Kind of just like general, more kind of get to know me type stuff. Because I kind of thought about doing this and I was like, oh actually no, like why am I doing that? Like I mean, everyone knows that, like as much as they want to know kind of thing. Then I realized actually like we're kind of starting to get to the point where not all of you are like family and friends and stuff, so actually a lot of you probably won't know much about me, and so I thought it'd be a cool thing to do. So hopefully it won't be too boring for you guys, hopefully it'll be nice and interesting. But yeah, I just thought it could be a fun video, just let you guys know a little bit more about my life and for you guys to get to know me a little bit more. Let me know if you enjoyed it, hopefully you did. But yeah, I suppose let's start from the very beginning. I don't know why I'm touching my hair so much, I need to stop. So I was born in a city called Bulawayo in Zimbabwe, which a lot of people usually know where that is, but I've been surprised by how many people don't know where that is. So I will tell you where it is. It's in Africa. It's like just north of South Africa. I feel like most people know where South Africa is. So it is in the south of Africa, but it's obviously not part of South Africa. It's in southern Africa and it's kind of beside Botswana as well. So my mum was born in Cape Town in South Africa, and that's where she grew up. And my dad was born in, I'm not sure where actually. I'm actually not sure where he lived in Zimbabwe, but he was born in Zimbabwe and he lived there. And then he went to college in Cape Town in South Africa, and that's where he met my mum. They moved to England for a year and then they moved back to Zimbabwe, and that's where they had me and my sisters. Most people are like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. We were there before all of like the big issues in Zimbabwe. Like, I'm not sure if you know anything about the history of Zimbabwe. I'm not going to go into it because let's be real. Firstly, it's like mad complicated and I actually don't know most of it. But also it's just not that interesting to the story. What story? The story of my life. And also another thing to know is I will like give general information. How much is like perfectly accurate, do not take from me. Like my mum will 100% come back and be like, that didn't happen, that wasn't true, like that was slightly off, this was kind of not really like that. And I'll be like, okay, sorry mom, I'm just going from what I remember, okay? So yeah, just take that, just take everything I say with a little pinch of salt maybe. So just my experience, my interpretation, my memory of what I think happened or what in my mind happened, if that makes sense. Anyway, so then we moved to Botswana. So Botswana is another country in southern Africa. It's right beside Zimbabwe and South Africa. Again, it's north of South Africa and right beside Zimbabwe. So Botswana then is where we lived for about 6 years, I think. Botswana is the place where I have the majority of like my childhood kind of memories within Africa, and it is probably the place that I actually have like any attachment to in terms of like memory wise, because I don't think I per se remember Zimbabwe. And it's obviously like I'm not officially Zimbabwean or anything because I don't have a Zimbabwe passport or anything. So although I was born there, I don't per se have any specific attachments there. I remember going to Zimbabwe like later on when I was a little bit older to visit my grandparents because they used to live there. But apart from that, I don't really have any memories of Zimbabwe. So the majority of my memories are actually from Botswana. So my brother was born in Botswana, but he was actually born in Cape Town though, while we were on holiday in South Africa, because basically it's another one of those ones like in Botswana, if you were born there you would have no rights to any citizenship because we were called what you would call expatriates, so you wouldn't have a right to a citizenship if you were born there. So basically my parents planned a trip for him to be born in South Africa because then he could have South African citizenship. Very random and so weird, but yes, that's basically what happened. So I'm the second child within my family. There's 4 of us. So I have my older sister who was born before me, Rebecca, and she is married. She got married like 3 months after me, and she is married to a guy called Jack. And then it's me. I'm married to Darren, which I feel like if you watch my videos you probably know that by now, hopefully. And then my little sister Sarah, and she lives with my parents still, and then my little brother Stephen, and he also lives with my parents. We're like, I think all 4 of us are kind of within like 6 years of each other. Like we were all fairly close. Like the girls were literally like within 3 years, Like my older sister's like 16 months older than me. My younger sister is like 18 months younger than me. So like we're like super close in age. And then my little brother was like 3 years after. So anyway, so we lived in Botswana then for 6 years. We moved about every year or so, I'm gonna say. Yeah, I think it's probably every year. Like we moved really, really regularly in Botswana, partially just because it's just kind of in like the culture of the place. Like a lot of like expatriates wouldn't be staying, so a lot of the time renting agreements and stuff would only be like a year long. So like it's kind of mad when I come here and I met Darren, and Darren had literally lived in one home his entire life. Like obviously until he went and did an internship and he lived somewhere for a while, and obviously in college he had only one like proper like home that he lived in, which I was like, when I literally had lived in probably like 10 in like the first couple of years of my life or whatever. Again, probably exaggerating that slightly. My mum's like, no you didn't, you only lived in like stocks. I don't know where I was going with that tangent. But anyway, oh yes, like one of my biggest memories actually when it comes to Africa is getting robbed. Like literally we got robbed as often as we moved house. Like it was just one of those things, like it's just so much more common. Like we'd have electric fences on like our houses, and it was like just a lot less safe, which I think is one of those things that like if you're someone who's just always lived in a place like Ireland for like your entire life, you just never understand like how safe of a country you live in and how lucky you are, because it's something that you've never not had. You don't understand not having that, like you don't understand that. And like I literally remember one of the years when we got robbed. It was actually like, well, it wasn't my fault, but like I blame myself for it. Not that like it was that big of a deal, like it's kind of was fine, everything was insured and stuff, and like it's more kind of like the scariness of it I think more. But anyway, I remember my dad used to come home from work, and when he came home from work we'd run and we'd open the gate for him, and then he'd drive up, and like someone would like, we'd all like race to like get in the car first, and like we'd get steered up the driveway. But basically I lost that day, so I had to lock the gate. So he'd come in, he'd done it, and I tried to lock the gate, but I couldn't get like the, you know, like the lock things when you can't get them like to like slam together. So I couldn't get them together, so I had left it unlocked, and I'm pretty sure I told my dad. Maybe I didn't though, maybe that was why I blame myself. I forgot to tell him that I couldn't lock it, and so then he didn't, and he hadn't double checked to see that it was locked. And so people broke in literally that night, and this is actually the maddest story. I feel like I might have told this story before, but I can't remember, so I'm gonna tell it again because it's a pretty crazy story. So that evening, me and my sisters and like all of us siblings were playing hide and seek, and we were just playing hide and seek, like just like normal kids playing hide and seek. And at some point, I'm not sure why, but we went, me and my older sister, we shared a bedroom, and we went into our bedroom to check what time it was for some reason. I'm not sure if it was that like it was nearly bedtime, so we were seeing how much time we had to play or something, I'm not sure. But we went in and we couldn't find our alarm clock, and we were like, where on earth is our alarm clock? That's so weird. So we went and told our mum, and like mum was like, it's probably in the mess of your room, you know, like the classic mum response. So we were kind of like, we couldn't find it, so we were like, okay, whatever. And then we just kind of kept playing hide and seek or whatever. Later on then again, we still were like, we like maybe did a bit of a tidy of the room or something, and we still couldn't find our alarm clock, and we're like, mum, we can't find it. And so my mum was like standing there at the end of the corridor, and we were like saying, and she was like, well, no, like there's no way that like it was robbed or anything, because there is like the camera's right here. And we were kind of like, yeah, that's fair, okay, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, so we went to bed and all, and it was just kind of the end of the night or whatever. The next morning we wake up and like the camera's gone, the TV's gone, like there's a load of stuff that's gone. And so we just like realized that literally like this whole time when we were playing hide and seek and where we couldn't find this alarm clock, my mum was saying like, oh no, the camera's still here, like we couldn't have been robbed. Literally, we were being robbed. Like there was literal burglars in our house while we were playing hide and seek. But yeah, so that's like one of my biggest memories. Isn't that funny how like that's literally, but maybe it's just because it's a bit of a funny like dramatic story, and so therefore I remember the story just from telling the story to people. But yeah, that's one of my memories of Botswana. But no, I loved living in Africa. Like I feel like I do obviously have like fantasized memories of it. Like it was so hot all the time, like all the time is boiling. It was such a different lifestyle. Like even just the thing, like you got up way earlier and went to school way earlier. Like I went to school like 7 o'clock in the morning till like 1, because it was obviously like cooler for like so many hours. So you went to school earlier because obviously it got hot like the middle of the day. So they were like, we're not gonna have kids in school like right through the middle of the hottest part of the day. Yeah, it was just different. Like, so then in about, what was it, 2004 I think it was, 2005, end of 2004, beginning of 2005, my dad basically got a job in Ireland for working for the same company that he worked for. So my dad is a civil engineer, so it was like the exact same company, and he got a job in Ireland. So yeah, so he came over in October, like way before us. So he came like 3 months before we moved over. So we went to actually England first because we had some family there. So we stayed with them, I'm going to say for nearly a month or so, like over kind of Christmas time. So I always counted as like I lived in England for a while, just because it's fun to say I lived in another country. But yeah, we were there for a while, and then we moved to Ireland officially on my brother's birthday, the 2nd of January. I don't remember what year, it was either 2004 or 2005, I think. And yeah, that was then the year that was like we moved to Ireland. And I remember moving to Ireland and it being, so we started off in this tiny apartment that was like my dad's like job had like sorted out for us just for like temporarily. And it was tiny, like it was 2 bedrooms. There was the 6 of us, so my mum and dad in one, and then the 4 of us in another. There was a double bed, and then 2 of us slept on the floor on either side. And like that was all the space in the room. And I remember it so clearly. And I remember we started school where we were still living there as well, and we were going back and forth. It was in the centre of Dublin, so we were driving about an hour and a half maybe to school and back every single day. And it was mad. It was so mad. And there's so many things like I remember just being so different, like because in Africa we would have like always just like gone around barefoot. We never would have worn shoes. Like it was just common, like you would have gone to the shop without shoes on, like it was just normal. So we came here and we were going around with shoes, and like I remember mum got asked at some point like if she was okay, like if like they needed like money or anything because they couldn't afford shoes for us, because like it'd be raining and we'd just be barefoot or whatever. And it was just like so funny because that's just what we did. We were just used to not wearing shoes. So yeah, that was a funny one. I remember that. There was a few random things that I think because of the age I was, like it was fine and I kind of adapted to it pretty well. But yeah, it was a different world. And I also remember when we first were, like we kind of were first told that we were going to move to Ireland, I was like, oh my gosh, we're moving to Ireland? Like that's the stupidest. But obviously with my accent at the time, I would have said more like island as opposed to Ireland. And I was kind of like, this is the stupidest country ever. Like what country names itself like it's an island and they just call themselves Island? Like that is the stupidest, most unoriginal name. Like I do think at the time I didn't particularly like the idea of moving, and it's like literally moving across the world. I have my friends, like I don't remember per se, but I do remember thinking that Island was such a stupid name for an island, which makes me think I probably didn't want to move particularly. But I feel like I don't remember it being too traumatic either. But yeah, but it was a very like so culturally different. And even now, like I think if I was to move back to Africa, I would just be like, it'd be completely mad. But anyway, so like I feel like from what I remember, I fairly quickly settled into Ireland and became Irish pretty fast. And then like I went to primary school, went to secondary school, kind of the usual stuff. And I'm trying to think of anything madly dramatic happened in those times. Like I don't think so. Like I kind of like, I didn't mind school actually. Like I didn't find school too bad. Like I wasn't bullied or anything, which is great. I feel like that shouldn't be a thing that you should like be happy that didn't happen to you. Like I feel like it just shouldn't happen to people. But anyway, I overall enjoyed school. I actually didn't mind like the later years of school. I preferred even. Basically, I did alright in school. Like academic wise, I was okay. I feel like I was probably considered like slightly above average, but not much. That would be my interpretation anyway. Yeah, I was alright academically. So then I went to college. I actually wanted to do psychology in UCD. That was my first choice, which I didn't get. I didn't get enough points, which I remember being heartbroken about at the time. And then I went to college and I did my second choice, which was social science. I didn't particularly enjoy college at all actually. So I went to UCD, University College Dublin, for anyone who's not in Ireland. And I didn't particularly like college. I found it really quite lonely. I found it very hard to make friends. Yeah, it was a really like, it was an interesting time in my life, and like overall I didn't mind my course and stuff and that kind of aspect of it. But I think overall I did find it quite a lonely time in my life, I'm gonna say is the best way to describe it. Until I met Darren. So I met Darren in my second year, and saying that, I met Darren and obviously that aspect of my life didn't feel lonely then, but I do think overall still friendship wise, I found it quite lonely in college. Even no, in fairness, like the longer I went, I did start to make a couple more slightly closer friends, but I think I just never had like that like best friends thing, which I did find difficult, if that makes sense. So I met Darren in my second year. We met in a cafeteria, and literally like, so I saw him, met him, was not interested at all in him. And about 3 weeks later, I then saw him again, and I was suddenly just really interested. I don't know what it was. I think it's like, he did like a talent, he was part of a talent show or something, and he like did something with someone else. Like they did like a little performance, but like he didn't, it seemed like the other person wanted to do it, and like he was kind of like just doing with them. And it was just like, it was just, I don't know, I was really impressed. Like he was kind of taking the mick a bit, and it was just, I was just like, it's got a bit of something to him. And then it kind of went from there, and then to be honest, it wasn't that long, and then we were dating, and then we were in love, and then we were married. Well, it wasn't quite that short, but it was kind of those ones that went from like nothing to something to everything very fast, if that makes sense. Well, not really fast, because obviously we got, but like I fell in love very fast. I didn't tell Darren. Darren knows now, but I remember we were about a month into our dating, which some people would say is really early to say that you love someone. Some people would say that's not early at all. I think everyone has a completely different experience from each other, because I think everyone's experience is so different. So I remember a month in, approximately a month, I was like, I think I love him. Like I think this is like something real, and I think this is something that could be forever. Like, I didn't say this to him, obviously. I'm way cooler than that. But I remember him literally chatting to me, because I was there being like, should I tell him I love him? Should I not? Should I wait for him to tell me he loves me? And I was kind of like, no, I'm gonna wait for him to tell me, because I was being like stubborn, like no, it's the guy's job to say I love you first. So I waited, and I didn't say anything. And I remember him saying to me, I'm so glad we haven't said I love you yet. I just don't think it's good to rush into it. And I remember being so annoyed and just like really upset, because I was like, ugh, whatever. So I kind of just like, I just held out, and I was just like, I'm not telling him I love him. I'm waiting for him. And then I remember when he finally did tell me he loved me, I think it was like probably 3 months in. It took him a while. But anyway, he told me, and like in my head I like replied straight away, but he was like, you literally waited for ages. And I was like, serves you right. I'm so happy now. But yeah, no, so that was about 3 months in. Then we got engaged after 2 years of dating, like 3 days after our 2-year anniversary. And we got engaged. I was only 21 years old, young little me. I actually got asked recently by someone, like, did you find it really hard, like when your friends and family, like were friends and family really like rough on you, the fact that you guys got engaged so young and stuff? And I was kind of like, actually like not really. Like people I knew overall were very supportive. I think because they knew us, they knew our relationship, I think they knew that it was serious, and it was like the right time and the right everything. But I think it was mainly actually randomers that decided to tell us, like, oh my gosh, you're way too young to get married. And you're like, who are you? Like, I don't know who you are. Like, since when did I ask for your advice in my life? Never. Do you know? But yeah, so I was just a bit like, so I kind of said, actually, when she asked me, I said to her, I was like, look, like, obviously it's one of those things, like, it's very important to listen to people who are in your life and are important to you and know you well. They know what's good for you. It's important to listen to them, especially if they're telling you like this is not healthy, like this is not good for you. Like it is important to listen to them. But I think when it's people that, like, I actually saw this quote, this is the quote I actually said to her as well, was like, if you wouldn't take advice for them, don't take criticism from them. And I was like, oh my gosh, that is so true. Like if I wouldn't accept your advice on something, like if I wouldn't go to you for advice, why on earth would I take like criticism about what you think about my relationship? So if some random lady like in like the street and she's like, oh, that's way too young to be getting married, you're like, do I know you? Like, why are you commenting on my life? Like, I don't, why is this happening? So overall, like that, I feel like that didn't madly bother me, because I feel like overall it's just random strangers, and I was like, cool, like, thank you for telling me. Like, I don't care. I don't care what you say. But yeah, so we got married like 6 months later, and we got married in May on the most beautiful place It was the most beautiful day. It was sunny, warm, so warm for a May day. Like it was like a miracle. The day before it poured with rain, and then on the day it was so sunny, clear skies. It was perfect. It was amazing. And yeah, and it was an amazing day. Absolutely loved it. It's funny now that I look back, like we're nearly 3 years married now. Is that true? Yeah, in May we're 3 years married. I look back now and like there's so many things I do so differently and for our wedding day, like whether that's decor wise, just design wise, anything. Like there's so many areas I would just do differently, but it was so perfect as well. Do you know, you're always gonna look back and be like, oh, we could have done this or we should have done that. But yeah. So then I moved to where Darren lived, because this was kind of, so he actually lives, we actually live where he works, and he like, without telling you exactly where I live and like literally my address, I can't really explain it that well. It is, yeah, he works here and then we also live here, which is it can be quite a hard balance because obviously like work is right there. If I was to sit where the camera is, I could literally see the door to his office. Like that's how close work is. And so it can be sometimes quite hard to balance and get that balance right. So we've lived here now so Darren moved in just before I got engaged. He moved here. So like four years ago. Yeah, so 4 years ago nearly, like at the end of the summer, 4 years. And then I moved in like when we got married. And so we've been here for nearly 3 years with both of us here. And this is where we are. And actually, I have no idea where on earth we'll be next. Like, it's one of those things, like, I feel like some people I talk to, they're like, oh my gosh, I have my life plan. I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing for the rest of my life. Like, I know exactly what I'm doing with my life forever. I know the day-by-day plan of forever. And I'm like, I haven't a clue. I haven't a clue. So I don't know where we're going to be next after here because we don't know how long we'll be here for. But I think, yeah, it's kind of those ones, like, I'm kind of happy enough not knowing at the moment. Someone actually asked me, do I think I'll live in Ireland forever? And I actually don't know. It's a good question. Like, I love the idea of moving somewhere else. And part of me could see it, like, it's kind of one of those ones, like, if the exact right, like, combinations of, like, circumstances arose that would happen, then 100%. I would definitely love to live somewhere else. Like, we've chatted about how we'd actually think we'd really enjoy, like, living up in Northern Ireland. Like, Northern Ireland just seems to really have, like, the culture and, like, lifestyle that we would really enjoy. But yet it'd still be very similar to Ireland, if that makes sense. So we could see that. We could also see ourselves, well, I feel like I could see myself living somewhere like Spain or like Malta. I would love to live in Malta because they speak English in Malta as well. So you wouldn't even have to like change your language or anything. And it is so beautiful. It's so small and just like, oh, it's amazing. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know if I would actually ever move anywhere. And I'm not sure, like, part of me would love to like move somewhere like Australia. But then also part of me like really loves the idea of like being close to family and like I lived my entire life away from family and friends, like not family and friends, but like family. Like I never ever lived in the same country as any extended family in my entire life. And that's not true. For the first couple of years of my life, I lived in the same country as one of the sets of my grandparents. But from when I was about 2 or 3, I didn't live in the same country as any extended family ever, which it's just what my life is. I'm like, I'm just like, that's all I know. And so like in that way, like it doesn't really bother me that much. But I think in some ways, like I would really love to have my family closer, like have my, one day when we have kids, like I'd love my kids to grow up with their cousins and stuff. And like, I love like their grandparents to be around. And yeah, I just think it's one of those things I would really enjoy. So I do think we'd probably want to raise our kids maybe here. But then in reality, when you think about like raising our kids might not be that far down the line. Like it's still a little while, so don't get too excited. We do get asked regularly, like, when are you gonna have babies? And I'm like, not too soon. I thought I'd want kids I thought I'd already want kids, like I'd be like ready for them. But I'm just like, nah. Like the responsibility is just a lot. Yeah, so that's kind of, I feel like that's kind of where we're at now. I'm looking into some potential new things coming into the future. I have a few ideas of things I'd like to do, a few things I'd like to achieve, and a few things I'd like to get started, which I am moving on, but I feel like they're in the very, very, very early days still. But watch this space, you know. I think like that's kind of where I'm at now. Like I am so excited for the future. I'm so excited for new ventures, new exciting opportunities. I'm also excited to raise a family and to be a mum. Excited to be an auntie. I'm excited for life, and I'm excited for lockdown to be over so we can finally start like living that life a little bit more. I'm excited to travel more. I'd love to do like a 6 months traveling or something at some point. At the moment it's just like not possible with Darren's job, but maybe some point in the future, maybe that could be a cool thing to do. That's kind of my life so far. Like I feel like that's like a very, like there's definitely so many areas I could have gone into more, but I have already talked so much. So yeah, so anyone who was interested and enjoyed this, if you watched this far, fair play to you. That's impressive. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit more about me, about my life. And if there's any questions you have, feel free to ask. Like I'm so open to talking in more detail about certain areas. Like if there's a certain area that you would be really interested in knowing my experience of, whether that was university or whatever, or moving across the world or whatever it is, feel free to ask, because I'm so happy to answer any questions, and I could do other videos or whatever if you guys wanted. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I love you all so much. You guys are actually amazing. You're so supportive and just fantastic human beings all around. And I love you all so very much. And I hope you have a fantastic day. And I will chat to you soon. Bye.